Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the newest release from Urban Decay, the BACKTALK palette. This was just launched yesterday, March 8th, and I placed my order right away, and somehow Sephora managed to get it to me overnight delivery, which is amazing. Here's the outer packaging. It is quite bulky, so it's quite thick. It's not as long as the Naked palette, so I've got Naked 3 here. It's not as long, but you can see that it is thicker, so it's got some heft to it. But what you're getting inside are 4 face powders. So you have 2 highlighters on this side and 2 blushes over here. And then on the other side of the palette, you're getting 8 eyeshadows. And everything is in this purple, rose, mauve, all these kind of tones, and it's beautiful. These colors speak to me, they really do. I have green eyes, so these colors are very complementary to me, although I think these would be universally flattering as well. And then also with this palette in the middle, to divide the 2 powders, you're getting a mirror that comes out. Now, if you try to just set this aside and not bother with it, the palette doesn't close properly. So you do need to put it back in its little magnetic holder there. It's kind of fussy to me. I'm not wild on that idea. I could have done without this. I think even just a little permanent flap that goes back and forth or something along those lines would have made me a little bit happier, but it's in there. The mirror itself is fairly narrow, so I did try using it while I was doing my makeup today, but I kept just going for my round mirror because I could see all of my face while I was doing that. So to me, this is just not the biggest selling feature, but I don't buy palettes for the mirrors. I buy it for the products. So let's talk about this palette. It is 59 Canadian on the Sephora website, and it is limited edition. So if this is something that interests you, I'm not sure how long it's going to be around for, so you may want to hop to it. So on my face today, I have one of the blushes in Double Take. So this one right here, a nice rose shade. And then I have the 2 highlighters mixed. The blush itself is very pigmented, very blendable, and I really like the shade because it does look like a natural flush on me. The highlighters themselves don't disappoint me, but they are on the subtle side. So they do add like a healthy looking sheen, but they're not going to be that blinding, metallic, really reflective powders that a lot of companies are coming out with. So I don't necessarily mind that, but it's something to be aware of if you think that these are going to be super reflective highlighters. So there are the face products there. This one is Party Foul. This is a highlighter called Low Key. This is the blush called Double Take, and this one is Cheap Shot. So the swatches, particularly of the blushes, look a little intimidating, especially Cheap Shot because it is quite purple. But with these powders, they're very buildable, so you don't end up with like clown cheeks right away as soon as you apply it. Just go in with a light hand, tap off any excess, and then you can build it up from there. So it is quite approachable in that sense. So in the palette, you are getting 8 shadows. There are 3 mattes, so you have a very pale, it is pink, but it's like a creamy pink. You have the shade BACKTALK, which is very similar to the lipstick, which is what I have on right now. And then WTF, which is this warm brown over here. And then the rest are metallic finishes. So you have 2 fairly similar shades here. This one pulls a little bit more rosy, and this one is a little bit more on the taupe side of things. And then you have this pretty purple, I guess. I don't know what you would actually, it's not quite purple, it's like a pinky purple, like a really deep, almost fuchsia. I don't know, I'm terrible at describing colors. Over here is a cranberry type shade, and then you've got a metallic brown down here. These are not foiled. They are metallic-y and not matte, but they're not foiled per se. So here are the swatches here. I'm going to start over on this side. This is 180. This is WTF. Then we have Attitude, Shade, BACKTALK, Curve, Bear, and 3 sheets doesn't really show up. It's that really light, pale, creamy pink. So there are the shadows there. You can see what I mean. They are metallic-ish, but not what I would consider to be foiled. So just for frame of reference, when I'm talking about something foiled, I'm thinking something like the chrome paint from Tarte. This one is Top Yacht, and this is what it looks like on the finger, and then if I swatch it, it's very reflective and very metallic in nature, whereas these ones, they're definitely not matte, but they certainly don't kick back the light the way this does. So when I first saw pictures of this palette floating around on Instagram, I immediately connected it to Naked 3. This is what I think Naked 3 should have been. It should have been vibrant purples, rose tones, pinks, all of that. And until I got this palette, that's sort of what I thought it was. So I do have Naked 3 here. And it does have a lot of rosy kind of tones to it and a lot of purples in there. But when you compare them, these are far more vibrant. And when I look at them in person, these look, I don't know how to say it, like muddy or dirty or dusty. They're so muted that I'm not surprised I have a bit of a hard time getting looks out of this palette, just because they all tend to look like each other and they just blend into each other and the shades don't really stand out on their own. And then of course I was also concerned that there would be overlap. Bear is from the BACKTALK palette and Burnout is from Naked 2, and there they are by comparison. So BACKTALK palette, Naked 3, I said Naked 2, Naked 3. The one on this side here is from the BACKTALK palette and this one's from Naked 3. So they are very similar. This one is Curve from the BACKTALK palette and this one is Buzz from Naked 3. And they are different. Curve is a little bit more subtle, whereas Buzz has a stronger pink undertone to it. Oh, come on, focus. There you go. So there's from the BACKTALK palette, and that one is from Naked 3. Again, they are similar, but there's more of a difference between these two than the first two. But that's pretty much where the similarities end. I'll just do a close-up so you can see the shadows there. Okay, so I bumped you in just so you can see what I did with my eyes tonight. So first I went in with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot to prime my lids, and I set that down with 3 sheets down here. And then I took BACKTALK and blended that into the transition area with an E40 fluffy blending brush from Sigma, and then into the actual crease area and then onto the outer half of my actual lid. I applied Attitude. I used a smaller tapered blending brush, and then I applied Curve, this shade here, with a flat shader brush all along the inner half of my lid, and I wet that with MAC Fix Plus just to get as much intensity as possible. And then I took that tapered blending brush and just sort of swept back and forth where the 2 shades met just to blend them out a bit. Then I did my lower lash line and I applied this one here called Shade, so the pretty purple, and really buffed that into the lower lash line. Shaped sort of like a pencil brush, but it's quite flexible. So I used that to apply this dark shade here called 180, just in a very small V shape along the outer edge of my lid area, and then used another tapered blending brush to blend that out. And for blending purposes, I went in with WTF just to help soften it all out and help it mesh in with the other shades that were already on there. And then I applied Bear to the inner corner, and again I wet it with Fix Plus just to make it stand out as much as possible. And then for a brow bone highlight and just to make sure everything is blended along the top, I went in with 3 sheets again. So I did use all of them, and that is the finished look there. Alright, so in terms of how the shadows applied, I really didn't have an issue with them. The mattes do blend quite easily, the shimmers apply quite nicely. Curve does not have as much oomph to it as I would really like it to have. For the dark shades, there is no dark matte in this. So to deepen everything up, I did use 180, which is not a matte shade. It's more of a satin than anything, I think. Like, there it is up close. It's totally workable for deepening things up. I didn't have an issue with it. It's not glittery. And then if I really wanted to, I could obviously reach over to here if I wanted something with a little bit more oomph, like I was saying. Party Foul would be a good option. For today's purposes though, I just wanted to use the eyeshadows just so I could speak to them as eyeshadows and not go in with the cheek products. But certainly, I mean, if they're attached together, you can use them as anything. Just because they're called blushes doesn't mean you can't put them on your eyes. So there's 4 additional options there as well. So this is one that I would recommend. I would definitely say stay clear of Naked 3. It's just a big disappointment. But this one performs much better. I personally really like the shades that are in there. I love the cheek products. The highlighter, like I said, is not super blinding, but I don't mind that, especially for like a workday kind of look. I think it's really work appropriate just to have a bit of a sheen, and especially coming into summer as well. I think that this is a very good palette for summer. I don't like a lot of stuff going on my face in the summer. I want something that just looks healthy and natural, and that's what you're going to get from this palette. So I am happy with this purchase. So those are my thoughts on the palette. I thank you for taking the time to watch my review. I hope you found it helpful. If there's anything that you'd like to see me do differently in reviews, please let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now, guys.